Right now, across America, nearly 1 million people are sleeping in RVs, vans, and cars, not because they want to travel, but because they have nowhere else to go. Teachers, veterans, retirees, families, all quietly pushed out of housing. And in 2026,
Houston, we've solved a problem. At least it appears the Texas city has, housing 25,000 of its homeless in the last decade. 25,000 people off the streets, moved into permanent housing, not shelters.
Close your eyes and listen. Beyond the roar of the city, beyond the screech of the subway and the sirens of the ambulance, there's a sound that most of America has learned to tune out. It is the sound of a tattered camouflaged jacket rustling in the wind. It is the sound of a pair of combat boots, the same boots that once marched through the sands of Fallujah, now shuffling across the cold concrete of a Philadelphia sidewalk. This is the sound of a promise broken. In the military, there's a creed: I will never leave a fallen comrade. It is the foundation of the American fighting spirit. It is the reason our soldiers run into the line of fire. They do it because they believe that if they fall, their country will catch them. But for tens of thousands of veterans in 2026, that safety net hasn't just frayed, it has vanished. Welcome to Homeless US. Today, we are conducting a deep dive investigation into a crisis that should be a national scandal, but has instead become part of the urban wallpaper. We're talking about the homeless veteran. As we speak, there are approximately 35,000 to 40,000 veterans sleeping on the streets of America on any given night. But those are just the official numbers. If you count the hidden homeless, those couch surfing, living in cars, or hiding in the woods, the number is likely double. How do the heroes of our foreign wars become the outcasts of our domestic peace? In this hour-long special, we are going to peel back the layers of this tragedy. We will look at the military-to-morgue pipeline. We will investigate why the transition from the battlefield to the boardroom is so lethal for so many. We will walk through the VA, ghost towns, massive medical complexes where the red tape is thicker than a bunker wall. But more importantly, we are going to meet the men and women themselves. We aren't going to look at them as charity cases. We're going to look at them as the elite warriors they were trained to be. Warriors who are now fighting a war where there is no front line, no clear enemy, and no extraction team coming to save them. We are standing in a hidden enclave behind a rail yard in the Pacific Northwest. The air is damp, smelling of pine needles and diesel smoke. Here, a group of former Rangers and infantrymen have established a perimeter. They call it the Green Zone. To the city, it's an illegal encampment. To them, it's the only place on Earth where they don't feel like a mistake. As we move through the Green Zone, we will see the reality of 2026. This isn't just about bad luck. This is about a systemic failure of the highest order. It's about a nation that is world-class at making soldiers, but third world at making citizens. Prepare yourself. This journey is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be raw, and it's going to make you angry. But if they could survive the combat zones of the world for our freedom, the least we can do is look at the reality they face today.
It got worse and worse. I mean, we did get harassed a lot, and our tents got lit on fire.
Part 2, the anatomy of moral injury, the silent killer. To understand a veteran on the street, you must understand that the most dangerous wounds are the ones that don't bleed. We've all heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's the standard label we put on the struggles of our soldiers. But in recent years, psychologists have identified something deeper, something more corrosive: moral injury. A physical wound heals with stitches. PTSD can be managed with therapy. But a moral injury? That is a wound to the soul. It happens when a soldier is forced to witness or participate in events that violate their fundamental sense of right and wrong. It's the weight of the impossible choices made in a split second in a dark alley in Kandahar. It's the guilt of the survivor who made it home while their best friend did. When a veteran returns with a moral injury, The civilian world feels like a lie. They look at the trivialities of modern life, the arguments over coffee orders, the obsession with social media, the political bickering, and they feel a profound, agonizing sense of alienation. They feel like they are from a different planet. This alienation is the first step on the road to homelessness. Meet Thomas. Thomas served as a corpsman, a medic. For 3 years, his hands were constantly stained with the blood of his brothers. He saved dozens, but he remembers only the ones he lost. When he came home, he couldn't stand the sight of a hospital. He couldn't stand the smell of antiseptic. He tried to take a job at a local clinic, but he had a panic attack on his first day. The world just felt too loud, Thomas tells us, his eyes fixed on a small fire he's built inside a rusted trash can. In the desert, everything was clear. You knew who was with you and who was against you. Here, everyone is smiling, but no one is real. I started drinking just to turn down the volume of the world. And once I started, I couldn't stop. Thomas's story is the blueprint for this self-medication trap. In America, we are very good at prescribing pills to veterans. We have a pill for every ill. But for moral injury, a pill is just a chemical curtain. It hides the pain for a few hours, but it doesn't fix the soul. When the prescriptions run out, or when the alcohol isn't enough, the street offers cheaper, more potent alternatives. Fentanyl doesn't care if you were a hero. It doesn't care about your medals. It only cares about making you numb. And in Kensington, or Skid Row, or the Green Zone, being numb is the only way to survive the shame. Because that is the final ingredient of the moral injury, shame. A soldier is trained to be strong, to be a protector, to be the one who provides. When they find themselves unable to pay rent, when they find themselves sleeping in a park, the shame is so overwhelming that they stop calling home. They stop reaching out to their families. They ghost their own lives because they can't bear the look of pity in their mother's eyes. They become invisible because they want to be invisible. And our society is all too happy to oblige.
Not having a shower or food to eat on a regular basis or a place to store the food or any of it.
Part 3. The VA. Ghost Town, Bureaucracy as Weaponry. If you listen to the speeches on Veterans Day, you'd think the Department of Veterans Affairs was a well-oiled machine of compassion. They talk about veteran-centric care and seamless transitions. But if you talk to the men in the Green Zone, they have a different name for it. The VA. Ghost Town. The VA is a massive $300 billion a year bureaucracy. It is the second largest department in the federal government. On paper, it is a fortress of support. But for a homeless veteran, it often feels like a fortress designed to keep them out. Let's talk about the paperwork barrier. To get housing, you need a disability rating. To get a disability rating, you need a medical evaluation. To get a medical evaluation, you need to prove your service connection. If you lost your records in a fire, or if your unit's logs were incomplete, or if you were discharged with an other than honorable PH status because of a drug problem that started because of your PTSD, you are essentially locked out of the system. We call this administrative attrition. The system is so slow, so complex, and so prone to error that it eventually wears the veteran down until they simply stop trying. We met Michael, a former Army sergeant. He spent 18 months living in his car while waiting for the VA to process his housing voucher. Every time he called, he was told his file was in review. Every time he visited the office, he was told his caseworker was out of the office. I fought the Taliban in the Helmand province, Michael says with a bitter laugh. I survived IEDs and ambushes, but I couldn't survive the VA. Hold music. It's like they want you to die so they don't have to pay your benefits. But the problem goes deeper than just slow service. It's about the medical industrial complex within the VA. Large amounts of funding are directed toward massive, centralized hospitals and city centers. But most homeless veterans are hiding on the fringes. They don't have cars. They don't have bus fare. They can't make it to a 9 a.m. appointment 3 towns over. Why don't we have mobile clinics? Why don't we have VA? Caseworkers embedded in the camps? The answer is simple. Bureaucracy prefers the office. It prefers the air-conditioned cubicle over the muddy campsite. It prefers the standardized form over the human reality. Furthermore, there is the scandal of the bad paper discharges. Thousands of veterans were kicked out of the military during the height of the Iraq and Afghan wars for behaviors that were clearly symptoms of PTSD. Minor drug use, insubordination, or going AWOL for a few days. These other than honorable discharges are a life sentence. They strip the veteran of their GI, bill their VA, healthcare, and their dignity. We have created a class of second-class veterans, men who gave their youth to the country, but because they broke under the pressure, the country has decided they don't exist. This is the ultimate betrayal. It is a moral injury committed by the government against its own defense. Part 4. The mercenaries of poverty, the profit motive. But wait, if the VA is failing, where's all that money going? If we're spending billions on veteran homelessness initiatives, why is the problem getting worse? To find the answer, we have to look at the mercenaries of poverty. In the last decade, a massive industry has sprung up around the veteran crisis. These are private contractors and large-scale nonprofits that bid on government grants to solve the problem. On their websites, they show pictures of smiling veterans in clean apartments. But on the ground, the reality is much darker. We investigated a series of supportive housing projects for veterans in several major cities. These projects are often run by private companies that receive thousands of dollars per month per veteran from the federal government. You would expect these facilities to be top tier. Instead, we found human warehousing. We spoke to a whistleblower, a former maintenance worker at one of these facilities. He described rooms infested with mold and bedbugs. He described a lack of security that allowed drug dealers to operate freely in the hallways. He described caseworkers who had caseloads of 100 veterans each, making it impossible for them to provide any real mental health support. It's a cash cow, he told us. The company gets a guaranteed check from the government every month. As long as there's a body in that bed, they get paid. They have no incentive to help the veteran get a job or move into their own home. If the veteran leaves, the paycheck stops. This is the incentive gap. We have created a system where private entities profit from the persistence of veteran homelessness, not its elimination. And what happens to the veterans who can't handle the conditions in these warehouses? What happens when they complain about the mold or the drug dealers? They are evicted. And because they were evicted from a supportive housing program, they're often blacklisted from other services. They are pushed back onto the street, more cynical and more broken than before. Meanwhile, the executives of these nonprofits are taking home six-figure salaries. They are attending leadership summits at luxury resorts to talk about innovative solutions to homelessness. This is the market-based approach to human suffering. We have turned our veterans into commodities. They are units of revenue for a poverty industry that has no interest in seeing them get well. As we look at the high-rise offices of these charities and then look at the tents in the green zone, the question becomes unavoidable. Who is this system actually serving? Is it serving the man who wore the uniform? Or is it serving the man who wore the suit?
Been human trafficked. Had things I won't even mention happen to me.
It frustrates the hell out of me, doing this to people, then having no second thought about it. So, yeah. If they were going through it, they'd be thinking a lot differently, and they'd be looking at it a lot differently.
Part 5. The final salute, a call to arms. As the sun sets over the rail yard, the men of the green zone begin their nightly routine. They post a guard at the entrance. They check on the ones who are struggling with the tranq withdrawal. They sit around a fire and they talk about a world that seems a million miles away. They're still soldiers. They are still a unit, but they are a unit without a country. We cannot allow this to continue. We cannot call ourselves the land of the free while the defenders of that freedom are dying of preventable infections in our woods. We cannot talk about honor while we allow a bureaucracy to starve our veterans of their dignity. The solution is not more studies. The solution is not more consultants. The solution is direct accountability. We need to treat veteran homelessness as a national security emergency. If we can build a base in the middle of a desert in 48 hours, we can build high-quality, dignified housing for our veterans in the same amount of time. We need to automate benefits. If you served, your benefits should be automatic. No more proving your trauma to a bureaucrat. Your service record is your proof. In the bad paper trap, we must offer a blanket amnesty for OTH discharges that were the result of service-related trauma. Decentralize the VA. We need to take the money out of the ghost towns and put it into mobile units and peer-led communities. A veteran will trust another veteran long before they trust a government employee. Audit the poverty industry. Every nonprofit receiving veteran funds must be held to a success standard. If they aren't moving people into permanent, healthy lives, they lose their funding. Period. To the veterans living in the tents tonight, we see you. We know your names. We know your service. Do not give up. The Brotherhood is still alive, and we are coming for you. To the rest of America, the next time you see a man in a tattered M65 field jacket holding a cardboard sign, don't just reach for your pocket. Reach for your phone. Call your representative. Demand to know why the $100 billion failure is being allowed to persist. Honor isn't a word you say on holiday. Honor is an action you take when it's hard. It is time to bring the Army home. Truly home. Not to a warehouse, not to a shelter, but to a life of dignity, purpose, and peace. Thank you for joining us on this investigative journey. This is Homeless US. We will not look away. We will not stay silent. And we will not stop until the last man is accounted for. Share this video. Spread the truth. Let's finish the mission. Good night, and God bless the defenders of the dream.